So it is overheating right now, as you could tell. I'm gonna shut it off. Okay guys, my vehicle started overheating. This is a 2006 Range Rover, Range Rover Sport. And they're typically not known for head gasket issues, but we do have a leaky radiator. If you could come on this side, you could clearly see we have an issue over here. As you can see, the discoloration and stuff. This is where it's leaking from, and I will show you in a video how it's actually leaking. So here's a temporary solution. I'm just trying to get home, guys. And as I'm trying to get home, what are you gonna do? Some of the cheapest methods that you could do without replacing the radiator in the parking lot is put some kind of stuff like this. Now, I've never used that before, but I have an idea for that. So we will remove the thermostat, which is right here. And we're gonna pour this directly into the engine portion where it could mix with that water. Now, this is a two-step system, and this is, you know, for cooling system repair, a two-part formula. So we're gonna pour this directly into the overflow tank, which is right there. So let's go ahead and actually start with that. And along with that, we have distilled water. So we're gonna punch a hole here. Gonna put well, there's actually no lid, and we're gonna basically just pour it in. So the black stuff takes a little while for it to actually work. So we're gonna do that. And now I'm gonna put some distilled water inside to kind of like wash the contents out. So we're gonna do that. Mix it up a little bit and pour it back in here. Okay, so that's good. At this point, we don't want to really fill up the bottle completely. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna remove the thermostat. Gonna remove that. Make sure not to drop the bolts. So we got one of the bolts. Just gonna put it straight into my pocket. Now the engine had some time to cool down since I went to Walmart and get all this stuff. But at this point, it drives about a mile, maybe a mile and a half, and it starts overheating. Which is not a good thing because I gotta drive 11 miles to get it home. So in this video, you're gonna find out, will I make it home or will I not? I'm gonna film the whole process. There's a very good chance I'm gonna have to make a few stops. Now, the issue that started happening with this thing is the radiator itself, it has a leak. And part of the reason the leak developed, I think it's because we had maybe a bad cap, and also we had a thermostat installed, which was not free flowing. Like as you could see on this one, the thermostat's missing because I did remove it. So as long as I had the thermostat removed, this problem has went away. But once I actually replaced the thermostat, but not the lid, because I wasn't sure if the lid was new or old, I probably should have just went ahead and replaced it. It's very important to replace the lid, because if it doesn't open or close, then it's going to cause some issues. So with this, what I'm hoping to do is get the liquid directly where it needs to go, and I'm going to top this off with water, and I'm going to let this thing run. There's a very good chance that some of the stuff might spill. I'm not sure. But hopefully by me pouring this inside, I'm going to allow the engine to at least stay cool with the water that's going to be in there, in case the water has made its way out from the engine. Because as you can see, the overflow thing did not actually lose any water. So it's actually taking quite a bit of water. So there's that. So now that we might start actually raising the level the level on the overflow tank. Now, if you put too much water in there, it will actually blow the radiator out. So you should always put it at the proper level. So, oh yeah, take a look how much water the engine has taken when it's directly. So, do you think that with a closed thermostat, it will suck the water in when we already had a very good level? As you can see, we did not add any water to it. So it will not actually do that. So this is why it's important to put the water directly into the thermostat housing. That way you could achieve the maximum amount of water inside of the engine, because there's going to be an air pocket, not only here, but we might actually even have a pocket in a heater core. So usually if there's a lot of pressures being built up and it cannot be released with 16 psi, if your lid is holding more than 16 psi, it could cause the weakest point to blow out, which could be a heater core, which is underneath the dash and I'm going to replace, or it could be the radiator itself. At this point, the weakest point is our radiator. That's where it's been leaking. So this engine, I could tell you for a fact, it needs to hold 16 psi. That's what it says. And obviously once this leak developed in the radiator, this is when my troubles began. Previously it also had a leak, but I used the same formula that I just used in the radiator. That sealed up the radiator. It does say it's a guarantee type of fix. And it worked for a while, about a month or so. So at this point, we're done here. Let's go ahead and actually start it up. But I'm not going to start it up over here under the hood because the time is limited. I'm going to start it up and start driving and record once I drive, just to see how long it's going to take for it to malfunction. So anyways, guys, let's go ahead and start it up. We're going to see how long it takes for it to start overheating. So anyways, guys, so far I've been driving for 2 minutes, and I'm going to continue on driving. Oh gosh, it's actually started overheating already. Can't believe it. As you can see, it kind of happened instantly. So this time, even though it's overheating, wasn't too bad. I was able to find a parking lot right away. As you can see, there's no steam coming out. We do have a minor leak that's happening, and it is kind of leaking from the cap. And I think partly because the cap is actually doing its job. So it's finding the weakest point and it's just kind of leaking from there. But the bad thing is, that's all of the additives that I put in here. Looks like they're not able to mix. They're not able to go to the radiator where it's supposed to. Even though the water right now should be circulating, that is actually not happening. And I'm not really sure why. I guess part of the reason is that it's not holding the proper pressure. But the good thing is it's kind of coming from the top over here rather than too much over here on this side. Maybe this radiator is getting sealed up, but I doubt it. But I think because the pressures are not correct, it's not able to circulate properly. I'm just hoping that the heater core is going to be okay. I really don't want to lose these liquids, because I really want them to do the job of actually sealing everything out. Let it cool down for about like 1 minute, and started driving again because I have no patience. Last time I had to let it cool down maybe about like 10 minutes or so. And what I'm doing now, since the water is since it's overflowing, it's really bad for the thing to be completely full, because then the system can't properly circulate water. So I'm gonna let some of it out, trying to do it as safe as possible. But at this point, I don't see nothing happening here, and I'm a little bit confused as to why that's not happening. I mean, could it be that this area is sealed up? I doubt it. Really doubt it. But it's definitely bad to have too much water, so we need to have water at about right there, because it needs to sort of like suck water and push water, and it's not able to do that when it's completely full. Now it wasn't completely full, but it started to be full once I added water directly to the engine. That water definitely came out, went to the overflow tank, and this is when all of these problems started kind of occurring. So I'll let it do its thing. It is kind of leaking out over here. As you can see, there's really nothing happening over here. The floor is kind of like that, so that is old. So apparently there's really no water leaking over there. So hopefully once the water starts circulating properly, the engine's gonna start getting properly cooled. At this point, I think that's just not happening. The water really has nowhere to go, and I think right now it's trying to push water out of the engine into the overflow tank, and then as things begin to cool down, it's probably supposed to suck it back in. You can't do that with all the water in here. And also there's that overflow tank over here. I'm starting to hear some sucking noises where the engine is. But I could tell the cap is working. It's able to do its job, so this is definitely a good cap. I think the cap I had before was not working, but this one's working properly, because I don't believe I've seen it before to where it's actually leaking from the cap itself. So there's still steam, so I think some of the water actually did go to the engine, because I don't think we really had any steam. So now as it's going in there, steam is coming out, because I think it did not have place to relieve itself. Now this steam is kind of hot. Don't do what I do without no gloves. You will get burnt. But I just kind of like lightly unscrewed it and moved my hand out of the way, so it's a quick second. But I think I need to relieve it of its pressure. I think it's sort of kind of like burping the system. I did not do that once I filled up the water. But now that I actually ran the system, I mean, it's not too late. You know, the car has ran now with all the water and everything, and since the engine's still warm, I think this is allowing me to basically burp the system and let the water go properly where it needs to. So at this point, I have started the engine up with the heat on high. I have this relief pressure kind of like on. That's supposed to have a proper water level, and I'm just gonna allow this to get any water out of the system this way. Because technically you're supposed to run the engine on hot for 15 minutes after allowing it to cool when you use that formula, and we maybe ran it for 5 minutes. Just need to continue running it so that it can properly seal itself. I'm just gonna close it up right now, just to see what it's gonna do. Doesn't appear to be leaking on this side right now, which I'm surprised. This was a pretty major leak. Now just one of those bottles should have been enough. I already had some of the stuff in my system already, so perhaps that has, you know, helped it some. I just opened the hot air release valve, whatever it's called. what the temperature is doing. Temperature inside is still good. So air is running on high. I mean, I just want this engine to be able to work and hopefully seal everything up. I just can't tell if the water's circulating or not. You can tell the fans are working overtime. They just added some speed. Now this is all the water that came out of the radiator as I'm allowing the hot air to release. Wow, it's speeding up even more. And I'm just going to close it. So the temperature gauge is now slightly above center. I'm going to let some of this leak out on the ground, guys. Probably not a good idea at this point. I don't think the water's circulating. So I'm going to shut the engine off and try to get some of this water out of there. So I shut the engine off and this is what's happening. Really, really bubbling inside. I'm just gonna release some pressure. I mean, at this point, I'm kind of like wondering though, like, okay, the radiator itself is not leaking anymore. So what's really happening here? The radiator is not leaking. So why is the engine overheating? That's kind of like what I'm wondering.